The Republic of Indonesia held its 10th presidential elections last April 2009. The world's fourth most populous nation had a peaceful and efficient election characterized by historic public participation that resulted in the re-election of Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono as Indonesia's 7th president. Just over a decade ago, tens of thousands of Indonesians joined together in a people power overthrow of dictator Suharto, who had ruled for 32 years. Since then, the country has had 4 presidents with peaceful transitions of power between each leader. Before the 2009 elections, political campaigns consisted largely of dangdut concerts. Dangdut, a genre of Indonesian popular music, partly derived from Malay, Arabic, and Hindustani music, was developed in the 70s by working-class Muslim youth and became a grassroots symbol. Election fever was hot and heavy with dangdut concerts, which appealed to the public's emotion and drew big crowds for the politicians. But the internet age changed the playing field, taking the 2009 presidential elections to a new era. Presidential candidates use social networking media to appeal to the middle-class young adults, particularly first-time voters, known to be techie and internet-savvy. The internet was an important tool in the national campaign promoting peaceful and honest elections. Bloggers got in on the action in a search engine optimization contest or SEO with the keywords Indonesian Peace Campaign 2009 election. Thousands of bloggers participated in this contest for the chance to win laptops and $800 US. In 2009, Indonesia had 5 million first-time voters. It is predicted that there will be 20 million first-time voters for the next elections in 2014. India, the world's biggest democracy, was dubbed Youngistan during their 2009 elections since 2/3 of the 721 million registered voters were younger than 35. The Indian Election Commission reported about 100 million first-time voters. India's election fever saw the formation of dozens of new and youth-oriented political parties, led by web designers, call center employees, Bollywood script writers, and musicians. Their platforms included fighting terrorism, stemming job losses, and improving the nation's crumbling public schools and roads. The Hindu nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party, the Congress' main rival, made an effort to woo the youth by inventing its own version of Facebook, where candidates continuously updated their profiles. At rallies, organizers introduced the gray-haired octogenarian leader LK Advani as someone who loves chocolates, movies, cricket, and always carries an iPod. Advani even came up with his own blog. Political parties kept up with the young election fever, repackaging themselves as the choice for India's young and restless. They hired young adults 35 and under to keep them in touch with the concerns of the youth. Young professionals took time out from their jobs to volunteer as campaigners, surfing and monitoring the web, blogging, and strategizing on what messages parties need to send out to the youth. The power of the youth and information communication technology is on the rise, changing the way we live. A mix of dangdut, social networking, and other forms of digital media seems to be a good recipe for inciting election fever in Asia. Definitely something for Filipinos to learn from on the road to the 2010 elections. The heat is on and rising. This is PJ Urbello reporting for Your Tribe.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it? It
Absolutely,
sounds a lot like
absolutely.
what we have around here. What did you think?
And very familiar because the Indonesia situation is very much like us because in the 2010 elections, they're expecting 5 million new voters in the Philippines, the same number as Indonesia the last time.
And when you see the dangdut, the concert, we've seen that throughout the years here.
I've actually been, in 2004, I was actually involved in the local level, campaigning for a mayoralty candidate in one of the cities in Manila. It was something that I did as a job. I was paid for it and paid quite well for it. And very much in 2004, ganun talaga yung style.
So,
I would mount the stage, make median, ganun, make kanta, maraming song and dance, maraming mga artista, even on the local level.
Yeah.
And when you hear the reports
from the presidential campaign in these elections, para nakikita ko, may common thread na bakit daw walang mga artista sa mga campaign?
Wala ba? Parang
wala daw. Wala daw masyado compared to the recent years. At yun nga daw yung pinaka-reklamo sa mga sorties daw ni ex-president Estrada. Na wala daw mga artista, etc. So, just observing from it and hearing from stories from people in the industry, parang the demand for showbiz is a little bit less in these elections.
Do you think that's true? Let's talk about that issue. A lot of candidates have been getting flack for maybe having someone like Dolphy or Willie Revilla in their campaign. How do you feel about celebrities getting paid to endorse a certain candidate?
I believe I have my own standards. I would never endorse somebody that I don't believe in. And those are my standards, and I don't necessarily apply them to all people in my industry. They certainly have the right to make their own living, and if their conscience is clear na that person naman isn't out and out evil, then I think it should be all right.
But do you think that this maybe can cause a bit of more confusion, especially for the masses, when they see a celebrity with their candidate? Maybe it will just sway them?
As long as their choice is true. For me, if Dolphy truly believes that Villar is the best man for the job, I will not begrudge him that.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't, then I might have a problem with it. But if he doesn't have a problem with it, I won't raise the issue with him anymore.
This is why it's important. Well, this is how new media can help, isn't it? But I guess this is more targeted to our audience, people who have access to the web. You're a new media man yourself.
I suppose so, yes.
You are noted as one of the top 10 people to follow on Twitter in the Philippines. And in fact, during Ondoy, you did a lot of work to help people out there, and you were also
with
one of
my
the top.
fingertips.
Well, that's how times have changed now.
Right.
Tell us what you think about how new media is changing what people
Well,
are doing.
Ondoy was very important. I think if you study new media, Ondoy will always be a watershed moment for new media, because it was then the first time people really got on it to get information and to do work and to help. Twitter and Facebook, for that matter. There was a natural gravitation to it because it was democratic. You weren't. It was very two-way. Somebody could comment, somebody could contribute, etc. And really, during Ondoy, the term I think for it is crowdsourcing. That was the most amazing part because, for example, one story was that I just put on my Facebook that the condition is very severe here in this area. They need help, and in a matter of 3 or 4 days, I had a friend who I just made 2 months before in real life, and who was following me on Twitter and Facebook, organized his friends in Cebu. And they sent 2 container vans full of relief goods just by the power of that. And the way they organized in Cebu as well was through Facebook and Twitter rin lang. They would assign drop-off points, and people would come, and there were concerts as well, and people would come and give their goods. And even in smaller things like people like Carlos Eldran, Gang Badoy, they would say, we need a truck to transport goods from this place to this area, and in a matter of 10 minutes, somebody would donate a truck, and it's all through Twitter. And that was during Ondoy, and I don't know how involved people would be in the elections in this way, but
actually at this point we want to get your thoughts on. We have a psychologist who's said something about what they think online forums really are, whether they benefit the candidate or the people. So watch this and tell us. Let's look at this quickly.
Actually, this is a place wherein the candidate can feel the pulse of the youth. This is where they can read, they will know what are the things that they can do to convince the youth. So actually this forum from the candidates works for the candidate more than for the youth. They get to understand the youth more. They get to feel about them. They get to know what are the demands of the youth, which they can use when they go out and campaign.